Hello, hello, my gorgeous ones. Thank you so much for being so patient with me. We have, well, we always have stuff going on with the planets, right? But the bigger picture or the most prominent things are the things that I kind of want to bring when I do tarot readings, right? So we have Jupiter transiting from Libra to Scorpio on October 10th. So I want to talk about that first. So welcome, welcome all you new ones. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cindy. I am the modern day spiritual advisor. I use multiple modalities to help you on your path, including tarot, astrology, hypnotherapy, and mediumship. So I want to let everybody know, or I want to thank everybody for being patient, because when I'm doing tarot, or especially with this channel, I'm expanding it just from tarot. I'm a teacher, I'm a spiritual advisor, that's what I do. So I'm always sort of teaching you guys. So I had to like really meditate, get centered, and try to help, or try to see how I was going to teach this, right? So, because it's important, there's such a big group that's watching, it's important for, everyone to sort of get the concept, right? And when I do that, I know the way a Virgo is hearing me is not the same way a Scorpio is hearing me, or a Cancer is hearing me, or an Aquarius is hearing me. So even though you may get frustrated at the way that I say things, just understand that it's not just you watching. There are many, many, many watching. It's important for everyone to get the concept. That's the way that I teach. So, back to this Jupiter transiting into Scorpio. So Jupiter transits for a year. And so October 10th, it's going to be transiting from Libra, because it was in Libra, and now it's going to move into Scorpio. So obviously when it moves into a different house and a different sign, then it's going to be doing different things, right? And so it's got to like play nice with the house, right? So it's almost like it's coming to live in a house, and the house has a, I don't know, ruler, a landlord, right? So when Scorpio, or when Jupiter moves into Scorpio, it's going to be doing something very different than when it did to Libra. Or it could be doing the same thing, just in a different way, right? So let's talk about Jupiter itself first. Okay, so Jupiter is it's a huge planet. So, and again, it transits for a year. And so Jupiter is the manifester. Jupiter in Vedic astrology, they call him the guru, right? Jupiter is the teacher. Jupiter wants to expand things. And Jupiter, pardon me, got something stuck in my throat. But Jupiter wants to like give gifts and expand your knowledge and expand your thinking and expand your way of life, right? But it wants to do it for responsible owners, okay? So, because it's a teacher. So it's like, yes, you can have your gifts, but you have to be responsible in them. It's almost like, when you get, because we've talked about lottery winners, when you get lottery winners, the person that's responsible and able to handle that is much different than the one that isn't. They're going to end up losing it, right? So Jupiter sees this and he wants to give it to everybody. Jupiter loves giving gifts, so he wants to give it to everybody, right? But he's saying, as a guru, there are responsibilities that you have to be able to take and have to be able to accept these gifts. So that's sort of Jupiter. Pardon me, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. It must be a lot of you guys and myself. So Jupiter is like law and virtue and wealth. But Jupiter, being the guru or being the teacher, looks at like a lot of levels of a situation, or a lot of levels of what's going on when he's going to give you those gifts, right? So he's looking at everything and he's teaching you about those things, right? So Jupiter being in whatever house it's going to be in for you is going to be teaching you and expanding. And so it, like in the 10th house, where it's like your fame and your persona and all that, oh my gosh, it can make you grow so much out into the world and become this like person that everybody goes to and knows, right? But Before Jupiter got there, it was like, did you work hard for that? Were you doing your 16 hours a day or 14 hours a day studying and going and doing? That's what Jupiter's saying. Jupiter's like, I want to give you these gifts. Are you ready for them? Are you ready for them? And if you're not, he'll teach you. He'll teach you. And he's a what they call a malefic planet, right? So malefic is like a beautiful soft planet, right? So when Jupiter's looking at things, it's looking in the sign or the house, wherever he's at. He's looking at the positive and the negative. He's looking at both, right? But Jupiter is a masculine, what they call a masculine planet. So meaning when it's a masculine planet, it wants to manifest externally. So it wants to give you like the material. So it manifests externally. It's not like this inner pull or inner thing. It's like whatever you're learning, it can manifest into the physical. Does that make sense? So it'll want to manifest on an external level, right? So there are going to be some times during this year in your chart where you're going to have like, you know, the Jupiter and then the sun and so all those other planets sort of help and talk to each other, and that's what's going to be going on in your planets. I mean, in your houses. So when I'm doing this tarot reading, I'm doing it from your ascending, but you can look at your moon and you can look at your sun and you can look at your Venus. I mean, you can look at those things, but when you look at them from their point of view. Okay. So, I know a lot of people were like, no, it's not in this house, it's in that house. Well, it's my astrology, it's my reading. So I'm going to say it the way that I see it, and I'm going to say it the way that I'm being told to say it. So it may not be what your chart says, but it's what my chart said, right? So I just wanted to make that clear. Let me make sure that I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I don't forget everything about Jupiter. So I think the most important thing to understand, because it's ruled by Mars, I'm sorry, it's not ruled by Mars. I was looking at Scorpio. I think the most important thing that you need to understand is everybody gets this misconception that Jupiter's just going to give gifts and everything's going to be okay. And it's not. It depends on how it works in your house. It depends on what planets are there in your house, what house it's at, and how it's talking to the other planets, and how it's actually talking to the sign in your house, right? But it's going to be in Scorpio. So let's talk a little bit about Scorpio. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars, right? And we all know Mars. Mars is that ambition. It's that thing, that drive that makes you work hard, right? But also Mars can like take away harshly too. So Mars being, Scorpio being ruled by Mars, you're going to see that it's going to want to like, Jupiter is going to have to express itself in a Martian way, right? That makes sense? So let me say it this way. Let's just say, so Jupiter's been in a home in Libra for a year, and now he's got to move to a different home, right? So he's moving into Scorpio. And Scorpio, we'll just say the landlord is Mars, right? So Jupiter has to like sort of go by the rules of Mars and Scorpio, right? So if you think about it that way, that may help you. And the reason I'm explaining these characteristics, because I think it's really important for you to understand the planet and the sign and then your house, so that you know how to ultimately express these things, how to manifest these things in your life. Because you can, this is what the astrologers call octaves. Like you can express it in a negative, excuse me, what you call a negative way, or you can go to the finer vibration and express it in a positive way. But that's kind of up to you. That's where we have free will. That's where we have choices, right? And that's kind of up to you. But my job is to help you, to give you the knowledge and the understanding so that you know what you're working with, right? When you have the tools, you know what you're working with, right? So let's talk about Scorpio. Scorpio is sometimes a misunderstood sign. I know I've had the pleasure of having beautiful Scorpios around me, really beautiful Scorpios around me. It's not that I haven't seen beautiful Scorpios around me, but I've had the pleasure of having all the octaves, or what you call all the octaves around me. So I know how beautiful they can be, but I know how sometimes they're misunderstood because, you know, when you think about Scorpio, oftentimes they're just thought of as the ones that are keeping secrets, the ones that, you know, can manipulate, and the ones that are very sexual. Well, yeah, those are, you know, that Scorpio itself has those things in it, has those characteristics in it, but it doesn't necessarily, that's not all of what Scorpio is. Scorpio is just this beautiful, it has so many other beautiful things. So let's talk about what that is. So let's talk about some characteristics. So some characteristics about Scorpio is being secretive and aggressive, the protector, right? So if you're close to any Scorpio, you know that they will protect you if they love you and they understand you. They will protect you till their death. Like, that's how Scorpios are. So, but they're also intuitive, very empathic, empathetic as well, right? And what they do is they love the taboo. They love what's out of the ordinary. So oftentimes the reason that they're secretive, they're not meaning to be secretive in a malicious way. They're being secretive because they're thinking, and this is not all Scorpios, but they're being secretive because they're thinking what I see in this situation is probably not what society sees, and people probably won't understand that I'm okay with this, so I would just rather not say anything. That's a Scorpio. They're not trying to be malicious. They're not trying to be secretive. They're always thinking of you and thinking, well, you know, they don't really need to know that part because it's just my thought and my perception anyway. That's a Scorpio, right? So oftentimes there's that miscommunication in relationships where Scorpios being secretive, but it's because they don't really, they think that it might be more harmful to you if you know what they're really thinking is okay, right? So take that into consideration when you're dealing with a Scorpio. Scorpio is about transformation. And if you've followed me forever, this is one thing I've always said about Scorpios. I always see them as the rising phoenix. I see them as going in, figuring it out, that inner deep, deep, deep stuff, because that's what they want to do. They want the knowledge of that deep, deep, deep occult, deep hidden, deep, deep stuff, right? And then they transform themselves. So let me say this, if you have a Scorpio in your life, they definitely, as much as they will push your boundaries, as much as, they won't push your boundaries, as much as your boundaries will be pushed, as much as your knowledge of the hidden will be pushed, you will ultimately be transformed and have the change into what you're supposed to be. That's Scorpio. Scorpio transforms into what you're supposed to be. Okay? So, having Jupiter go into Scorpio, that is what we're going to be dealing with over this next year, right? And depending on, this is where, you know, you want your chart read by an astrologer. Depending on the degree and which house will depend on that type of transformation, will depend on that type of knowledge, will depend on that type of thing that's going on. But again, because Jupiter's in there, it's going to expand it. It's going to make it bigger, right? So going back to Jupiter going into Scorpio. So in this time with Jupiter going into Scorpio and having to play by Mars and Scorpio's rules, right? Because now they're roommates. Now he's got to, or that's his landlord. So now Jupiter's got to be like, Jupiter's like, well, I got to go by these rules. So Jupiter is going to be in your house, wherever he's at, is going to be digging deep for knowledge, digging deep for the teachings. That's what Jupiter is going to have to do, right? Because Jupiter and Mars are friends. So Jupiter plays well with Mars. He just has a different way of doing things. But he understands that once he's in the Scorpio house, he's got to play by the rules, right? Like I said, Jupiter loves to give gifts. He loves to do that. But Jupiter is also about transformation and expansion. So that's why they play well together. They just do it in a different way, right? It reminds me of when a Gemini and Aquarius get together. Because you guys know my son is Gemini ascending Aquarius. So I have, in my lifetime, many, many Aquarian relationships. And so we have the same understanding about things, but we will be expressing it and explaining it in a different way, right? So it reminds me of kind of that. And I'm sure there are other signs, but I'm just bringing that to me. So, the one thing about Scorpio is that it is intense. So Scorpio is very intense. So whatever you're going to be going through, whatever this house is going to be lit up for you, wherever you're trying to express yourself, is, remember, because I'd said before, the planets are about expressing. It's the way that you're wanting to express it. And where it falls in the houses are the area of life you're wanting to express it. But the planets and the sign are about the way that you're wanting to express in your life, okay? So you're going to have some intense, deep, hidden things come about in your love life, in your life itself, in your love for family, in your businesses, in your money, in all of that. That's what Scorpio is about. It's about transforming, and so is Jupiter. So you're going to have some big transformation, which makes sense as to why I kept feeling transformation for everybody, because there's big transformation going on this year. Now, of course, this is only part of where the planets are, but this is a big part. And that's why I've decided to do Jupiter and Scorpio. So I'm going to go over each house. I'm going to go over each sign and tell you where it's at in your house, and then do the month of October reading. Okay? So I hope I explained everything correctly. Oh, I did want to mention too, this is very important because I know some of you, again, I'm speaking to a whole but many different people. And some of you will associate better with a chakra, right? So Scorpio is associated with the solar plexus. It's associated with your third chakra, right? So if you don't know what the third chakra is, or the solar plexus chakra, you can think of the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh as those that come from above, and then so in the spiritual almost realm, or in the energetic realm, right? And then the two down below are the ones that come from earth, or this earth, right? So if you take what you know from above and what you have from below, and you bring them together, you manifest through your third chakra. So you're all about manifestation in this chakra. Okay, so I think that's very important for a lot of people to understand. Now, depending on what house it is in and where your planets are aligned is going to depend on how you're going to manifest these things. What are you going to manifest, right? What area of life you're going to manifest and how. So I will see you in a minute. Okay, one more thing before I begin, I forgot to say. I wanted to talk about the ascending, the sun, and the moon very quickly so that you guys understand when you're watching. If you're watching from the ascending, you take this perspective, or the sun, you take this perspective, or the moon, you take that perspective, right? So the ascending, you can think of that as like your identity here in this world, right? Your identity. But when it comes from your ascending, when you're looking at it from your ascending, you're talking about your past lives, or if you don't believe in past lives, the stuff that's fated to happen, the stuff that's supposed to happen, the stuff that comes from nowhere, the stuff that, or the things, or the situation, or the people, like those relationships and whatever, fame, whatever that is. When it comes from, when you're looking at, that's why I like to work from the ascending, because this is stuff that was supposed to be yours anyway. This is stuff that's coming in for you anyway, because this is what you wanted to experience, because this is how you wanted to manifest, because, for all different reasons. So, or because, in your past life you did so much work and now you brought some of the gifts for this life, right? That's what you're looking at when you're looking at the ascendant, right? And that's why, sometimes what you guys call miracle just happened. Well, it happened because it was coming from your ascending. It was what you wanted to experience it in that way, right? So that's why I like to look at the ascending. And when you're looking at your ascending, that's the way that you want to see it. Okay? I mean, or not, you can do whatever. I'm just saying this is my understanding. So your sun, when you're looking at your sun sign, or you're watching from your sun sign, these are the directions that you can take. This is the intention that you put on your goals and your relationships and your way of life and the things that are happening to you. This is where you can make your choices, right? So this is more of the conscious mind, right? So you can think of it as like the ascending coming from your subconscious and the sun coming from your conscious, although they all have both. But this is where you can make your decisions and put your intention and put your focus, and this is where, some people will say this is where your free will is, right? So when you're looking at it from your sun, it doesn't negate the fact that, your ascending isn't more important than your sun. It all kind of works together. It's just that the ascending is where you get like those things that you're like, wow, that just happened, or oh my gosh, that just happened, right? Because that stuff like you probably didn't even see coming because it was fated for you. It was supposed to come in for you. It was like, that's like the miracles. That's from your higher self. That's from spirit. That's from you, from your whole being, right? And then the sun is more of that conscious. Now the moon is the way, when you're looking at it from your moon, this is where you get the information or get the relationship or get the things around you, and you're looking at them and you're processing them. And we process them many different ways, but we do it and we connect with it emotionally, right? So that's why they call the moon the emotional part. So this is where you're processing the information, and that's what you're doing when you're looking at the moon. When you're looking at it from the moon side, you're gathering the information and you're processing it emotionally. You're trying to connect to it. What do I want to do with it? What do I want to do with that situation? What do I want to do with that person? What do I want to do with my life? What is going on, right? That's the moon. So I just thought that was very important for everybody to understand. And please, even though I'm saying look at it from the ascendant, don't don't box yourself in. This is why I don't just do astrology, because astrology, just sometimes some people are so analytical and so to the T that you're missing out on this whole bigger picture. So absolutely look at it from your moon, because you might see a different thing. Look at it from your sun, because you might see a different thing. Look at it from your ascending. Look at it from all sides. That way you gather all the information, because they're all important. Okay? So I hope that helps. I'll see you in a minute. All right, my beautiful Cancers. So Jupiter is transiting from Libra to Scorpio, from your 4th house to your 5th house. So what's the 5th house about? Well, first of all, let's talk about what the 4th house was about. So this year, if you kind of look back on the year that Jupiter was there, remember Jupiter wants to expand. And Libra is about, relationships and diplomacy and doing things with others, maybe collaborations, maybe family relationships, all types of relationships. So your 4th house is your home, your ancestry, your mother, your family, your property, land. It could be any of that. So over this year, you may have had some expansion. Now remember, Jupiter will do what you guys call positive and negative. So whatever it's doing, it's expanding. It's giving you knowledge and understanding. And so you may have seen some, gifts come from Jupiter through your ancestry, or maybe you had to move into a new home, or maybe you're still having to move into a new home because it hasn't transited. It hasn't finished in Libra yet. It's going to go into Scorpio October 10th. So maybe you acquired some property or some land, or maybe you had an expansion with your family, even mother relationships, or mother figures. So now that it's moving into your 5th house, what's the 5th house about? So the 5th house is about, it's where Leo resides usually. So it's called I Create. That's the house of I Create. So when you're working in this house, the best way to work through it, work with it, and balance it is to anything coming from your heart, your creativity coming from your heart. Not what others want you to do, but what you really want to do. So I know, like, you probably in your 4th house really were discovering, and still are discovering, like, what it is that you're really wanting, not what it is that others want so much, because you're good at like what other people want. I know people say that, Cancers can be a little selfish, but still, when you love someone, when you have that deep, deep love for someone, you can give more. You do give more. And so maybe that's what with it being in your fourth house was about. But through that, you were understanding who you are and what you want. And so in this fifth house, it's the expansion of your creativity, right? So it's also love affairs. So if you haven't met somebody, or if you met people but they really, you're kind of back and forth with them, if you meet somebody like when Jupiter is in Scorpio, especially, and in this fifth house, you could have a love affair, because the fifth house is about love affairs. It's about joy and happiness. Also, your artistic side may come out more. If you are an artist making music, or whatever kind of artist you are, you will be expanding in this over the year. And with Scorpio in there, it's going to cause you to really focus and go deep with your creativity. Remember, work from your heart. So whatever your heart is, you truly, truly passionate about and truly desiring, that's what you want to work with, because that's what's going to expand, and that's what's going to help you move forward, probably in the direction that you're wanting it to move forward in, right? So if your heart is like in your passion is like in your business, then will, like, as long as you're working from your passion, as long as you're working from your heart, that should expand as well. Okay, so you can have a lot of business opportunity here, if your purpose, your passion, your creativity from your heart, if that's all in your business, if like you've made a business out of that, then you will have like opportunity in this next year. Now remember, it's going to unfold throughout the year. Just like you can look back this last year and see how it expanded your fourth house, you can look back next year, you can look back to this year, 2017 October to 2018 November, and sort of see how it's expanded you. Okay, so the other thing too, because the fifth house can have children, if you're looking to have a child, or if you're wanting to be pregnant, or if you're wanting your spouse to be pregnant, this can be a good time to have children. But also remember, it expands. So it expands. If you're not wanting to have children, you might want to be aware of that. Let's just say that, okay? But if you have a new romance in this next year, it's going to be very intense. Remember, Scorpio's in there. Scorpio wants you to dig deep. Scorpio's not about that surface stuff. So if you have a new romance, with each new romance, even if so if you're just dating and it's one or two, or if it's just one, it can be very intense, but it can also be healing for you too. It can be healing and understanding, about that. So whatever this is, it's going to be really, really intense. Yeah, it's going to be really intense. So, and because it's sort of looking at the first house and the ninth house, so the first house is your identity in this world, it can bring you gifts through there too. It can expand that too, if you've already been working on that, which you have in your fourth house, of you and understanding you and relationships, right? So as looking at your first house and your ninth house, the ninth house is all about higher education. So if you were looking at higher education or getting skills or really understanding that, then because remember, the ninth house is ruled by Saggy. So if you were, the occult or anything that's mystical, spiritual, any of that, if you were like really engaging and getting a higher education in that, it can start like giving Jupiter, when it goes into Scorpio, into your fifth house, it'll look at that and it can start giving you gifts. So you can get gifts from those two areas as well. Okay, so with that being said, this is going to be your October love reading for 2017. But if you've never seen me before, love to me is that energy that moves through all vibrations. So I could be talking about your work, your love affairs, your romance, your partnerships, your family, yourself, your money. Like, love is that force that goes through all, okay? So, my beautiful Cancers, it looks like in your first position you have the Two of Swords. So this is you now. If this is not you, well, this is in your now. So, the Two of Swords is about getting like you're ready to make a decision about something, but you feel like you don't have enough information yet. Like you feel like something needs to come about before you can make this decision about something. So it looks like you're going back and forth about something, and you kind of know where it's going, but you're waiting for enough information. Now, this could be about a person. This could be about, I kind of feel like, for some of you, it could be, where you're going to live or where you're going to work, or, it could be whatever your focus is in. But either way, you're having this decision that you're having to make. And when this card comes up, they always say, you have enough information. You have everything, see, because you feel like you don't, but you have everything within you to make the decision. You just have to make that decision, right? But you have enough information. Just go within and think about it and feel it and then make your decision. You kind of already know what it is. You're just waiting for like more things to come about, right? So what's crossing you is the Lover's card. So this is Spirit's advice in this situation. So if you've never seen me before, the Lover's card is a 50-50 card to me. It means you and that person, or you and that situation are together karmically, right? So those things come to you karmically, or those people come to you karmically. You feel, if this is about a person, you feel like you've known them before, or maybe you've known them all your life. And this isn't necessarily a card where people stay together. It just means that you come in karmically to learn a lesson, or to learn an experience, or to have an experience. You don't have to learn, just to have the experience. And you have 50%, and then they've got 50% once the lesson or once the experience is done with, to stay or go in the relationship, okay? So their advice is, remember, because I am feeling this for some people, remember, some people are not meant to stay in your life. They're meant to have that experience for you to grow your soul, so that you can move to this other area of life, and so they can move to this other area of life, right? Or even the situation. Because if some of you have had a really, really hard time in, the way that how you're living, or what's going on around you, or maybe your job, maybe your career, whatever this is, maybe you're with your family, they want to remind you that, once the lesson is over, you expand, and you're going to move into a different area. It doesn't stay that way forever, okay? And I'm getting that strongly. I mean, I'm getting it with the romance and the love relationship like that, but I'm also getting it in other areas of your life where you have to remember that we have seasons, and that we have life cycles, and that this isn't going to stay the way that it's going to stay forever, okay? So just hang in there. So where you came from was the Fool. So this to me is like 0 point energy. This is like you thought you had everything together. Everything was like right on target for you to make these decisions and move forward. And it's like you're getting all your stuff together, because listen, Cancers, you handle your business. I know you do. A lot of people may say whatever, but I know you handle your business. So it looks like you were getting things in order. It looks like you had some opportunity to do some stuff, maybe even opportunities with relationships. And then from that point, it hasn't gone anywhere because you haven't made this decision, right? So they're saying, as soon as you make this decision, it's going to help. It really is. But you feel like you don't have enough information, and that's okay. Because in your 4th position, at the beginning of the 2 weeks in October, you have the Page of Coins. So for some of you, I love the Page of Coins because this is news that's like physical, that manifests into the physical reality. Anything pentacles or coins to me is physical. So this is news that, and sometimes it's news of money, sometimes it's news of a relationship that's going to be solid. It just depends on the energy you put into it. Whatever this is a solid start. So let me just say this. It's not an ace where it's a start, but it's the news to create the ace. That's the start, right? So you could have news of money coming in, and you're like, yes, okay, now I can get my home. Or news of money coming in and say, yes, now I can move so that I can get this job, so that I can do whatever, right? Or now I can get my car, or now I can do whatever. Like this is news that's going to help you move forward. Okay. And I think on an intuitive level, you're kind of feeling that with this, and that's why you had made a decision, right? So in your fifth position from your higher self, well, I'm sorry, let me go. They want me to go back here. Okay, so if this is about a relationship or somebody coming in, if you're single and you're available, well, you do have someone coming in. This is a nice page. A page is there to remind you that you can be loved and that you can smile and that you can laugh and that you can be happy and that you can be joyous, right? A page is not there to stay. They're just there to entertain, right? And that doesn't make them any less. It's someone to come into your life that makes you feel happy again, that makes you smile, that makes you laugh, that makes you enjoy life again. Okay, so some of you do have that person coming in, and this page in particular is really nice because he or she is not too forward, and he or she sort of lets you take the lead, and he or she sort of moves slow. You know, they may feel like they're not going anywhere. Eventually they will, but they may feel like this time is now and let's enjoy it, right? Okay, so in your fifth position from your higher self, I always ask your higher self what is the one message they want to bring through to help you move forward in love. And you have the Ace of Coins. So what they're saying is, and I kind of feel it here, is you have starts coming, you have beginnings coming, your life is changing, the phase of life of your life is changing, and so you have these solid starts that are coming. Now the Ace of Coins to me is that gateway. It opens the door, it starts the foundation, and it depends on how much energy and the type of energy you put into these starts to make it solid. But they have the potential to be really, really solid foundations, okay? And then however much energy you put into it, it will flourish. It could make abundance. You know, you just have to work at it. So they want to let you know that you do have new starts. Maybe some of you that's with someone. Like I said, I feel like with this fifth house, with Jupiter in your fifth house, I feel like some of you are going to have some really intense love affairs this year, some really intense love coming this year. So you do have the beginnings. That's going to be coming through. Now, in your sixth position, at the end of the month, you're going to feel like your hands are tied, like you're just too much in your head, like you're like I've tried everything, I can't do it. Everything that I try, it just gets stuck. Right? Everything I try, and I've just got too many things on my plate and I'm not getting anywhere, right? And so I feel like whatever the situation is, whether it's in your family or your romance or yourself or, you know, your job, whatever this is, you're feeling like you just can't go anywhere with it, or you're trying but it's not working, right? So remember that during this time, it just feels this way because you may be spread too thin. So focus on one thing at a time. Just focus on one thing at a time, and then handle that, and then handle the next, and then handle the next, right? You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to be super mom or super dad, or superwoman or superman. You don't have to be any of that. You can just do one thing at a time. But either way, you're going to be feeling like that at the end of the month. Okay, in your seventh position, this is your fear. So your fear is, you have the Nine of Cups. So I feel like some of you are like, am I ever going to be happy? Is there ever going to be somebody coming in that I can, or some of you have that someone, but you're like, is there ever going to be a space where I'm like happy and joyful and emotionally fulfilled? And I feel like some of you are like, you know, I've been working on other things for so long and working on this relationship or working on finding a good relationship. Is that ever going to be a place that's going to happen? You're fearful that it's not going to happen, that, you know, there's always going to be a struggle, or there's always going to be something happening. There's always, you know, and that's just a fear. So fear is there to remind you what you want and what you don't want. So you know you don't want that. You know you want to be emotionally fulfilled. You know you want to be emotionally stable. You know you want to be not taken advantage of. You know you want to smile and laugh and enjoy life again, right? So just remember that it's just a place to bounce off of. You know that you don't want that, so focus on what you want, right? All right. So in your eighth position, this is the way a loved one will be viewing you or dealing with you. And some of you, this is someone coming in. So even though this person may be a page, you have this king coming in, some of you, or queen. To me, the king is not just, because this card specifically doesn't mean the gender. It means the sign itself, so the fire sign. So it can be a Sagittarius, a Leo, or an Aries. And I do feel some Aries and some Leo for you guys. So I feel some beautiful Leos for some of you. So this person that comes in, they have the possibility of coming in the month of October, depending on their phase in life, depending on, you know, what's going on. They're ready for a relationship, but you'll know this person because they're very driven. They're very driven, and they know what they want. And when they go after something, they don't fail at it. So, but they are ready for a relationship. They just may not understand. They're so used to going for something that, like when they come to you, you kind of help them understand and open up about deeper love. Like they know deep love, but some of them have forgotten, right? And so you sort of open that part of them. Now, for others of you, this is actually you, and this is the way the universe is treating you. This is the way the universe sees you. Very driven at what you're really, really wanting. The stability, you know, to be emotionally fulfilled, going and getting what you want, but doing it in a regal way. It's like a softer, kinder way, right? And so they're saying that those things that you've been working for, when you have the King of Wands, those things that you've been working for, the relationship, the money, the stability, the home, the family closeness, like all of that you've been working on, that's going to come through because you're driven about it, because you've done it, because you've been working on it. So understand that that's a possibility for you. Okay. And it's in the October one. So I kind of feel like things sort of shift for you guys. Yeah, maybe like in the next couple of days I'm seeing too. Kind of for some of you, maybe this next week, I'll say. Now, in your ninth position, this is your hopes and dreams for some of, well, this is your hopes and dreams, but I consider it that outer realm of the energy you're bringing in. Some of you are bringing this other person back, this person you can't let go of. And I do feel that. And I'm not talking about like just letting go of them if they were a romance. I'm talking about people in your life that have been in your life in the past. You may have somebody coming back and sort of coming into your life. So I feel like that. But for others of you, I feel like this person that comes in, some of you that are ready and you're open and you're available, I feel like in this next year you're going to have this great love affair. And I feel like this is karmic. I feel like maybe you've known them in a past life, or maybe you feel like you've known them before. Maybe they're so comfortable with you. And so I feel like that for some of you, that could be coming in. But again, it depends on the phase of life that you're at, and if you're ready and available for that, right? And some of you have had such a hard time of really, really letting go of someone. And so you've been sort of keeping that other person and waiting for this other person to come in, right? And so I kind of feel like that person may come in. In your 10th position, this is the overall outcome of what you'll be working through in the month of October. You're going to be working through stability. The Four of Wands is stability to me. The Four of Wands is, you know, you've already laid the foundation. You're just now putting up the walls. So to have a solid home, right? To have a solid life, to have that. And so it just takes some action going through those doors so that all that is available to you. And it looks like that's what you'll be working on. And again, I'm talking about even in relationships, you're getting to a place where you already know what you want. Some of you have let go of what's no longer serves you, and it's just about moving through these doors so that you can start building the walls with someone, so you can start building a home with someone, right? So I do feel like you'll get evidence of that. You just have to take the action. So right here and right here, I'm seeing where you don't want to take action at the very things that you need to take action about, right? And the universe is like giving you all these opportunities, right? But you're just not wanting to make the decision about certain things. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. So just use this time wisely. Understand that you know what you really want. You understand what you really want. This is what your fourth house was about, really exploring your soul and really exploring you and really exploring you and your relationships, those relationships around you. So even though it's scary, you can take the action. You can make the decisions, okay? All right, my gorgeous ones. I love you, love you, love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful October and a good Jupiter transit. I'm sending you guys lots of love and light. I know that you can accomplish what you want. I know that you can. Love you, love you, love you. Bye.